And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Bruce, how was your Father's Day?
I was good, Eric. I hope yours as well. I got the Red Sox sweeping the Yankees yesterday. They traded Rafael Devers, which Alex and I were just chatting about. I'm fine with that because they got a nice little return, and the Red Sox have good youth in their organization. So you got that going for you. And J.J. Spaun gave us a great moment in championship golf history yesterday. It was just absolutely fantastic. I was thinking, and maybe you have, I haven't. I don't think I've ever even come close to canning something. Now, obviously, never in that pressure, but even just to roll in a 64-foot putt over a incredibly fast green, albeit a wet one, and with the undulation and the moves that he had to make. Now, he got a good look at it, right? He got a good look at it because was it Hovland that had the putt right before him, I think? So Victor Hovland. But what a great finish to an otherwise blah round of the finishing round of the U.S. Open. Wow.
What I kept reading over and over on social media was this. Boy, I'm really enjoying these pros struggle at this golf course. And then it was, I'm really enjoying watching these pros struggle because I struggle when I play, but it's hitting a point of this course is so difficult, it's getting ridiculous, and I'm not even enjoying it anymore.
Yeah, it can get to that point. Alex and I chatted last week about the setup at the U.S. Open briefly and whether that makes it more intriguing or less intriguing. And I think the answer can be both, because anytime that the course becomes the story, and sometimes that means when guys are ripping it, stripping it down bare for 28 under par too, right? I mean, then of course is the news for the wrong reason because it's not putting up a fight. The setup, though, sometimes you just shake your head at a U.S. Open and you wonder why. What really is the point? And for those people, and you're right, Eric, there are plenty of people that love for somehow like it. Is it some form of vindication for the hackers that we all are to see these guys struggle? Because we'd go out and shoot about 120 on this golf course, for goodness sake.
On the front nine.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, so I don't know. I find that really weird that people like seeing those guys struggle. I like a fair, hard test for the best players in the world, but I still want to see really good shots be rewarded. If you put one within 3 or 4 feet, square feet of the hole with the type of spin that you want on it, and that ball doesn't get close and goes 50 feet off the back edge because it won't hold, that's unfair to me. That has nothing to do with, that's just a bad setup. Anyway, I digress.
Okay, in a vacuum, J.J. Spaun winning the U.S. Open, what made it the most impressive of these three choices? Number one, what we just talked about, hitting a 64-footer. Now, he could have two-putted and still won.
Right.
But he won it in spectacular fashion, and he was the only guy who was under par. So, number one, what made it the most impressive part of winning the U.S. Open? That 64-foot putt, starting his round, 5 of the opening 6 holes were bogeys. Or, and I'm going backwards on the timeline, or waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, driving to CVS, and getting his daughter nausea medicine. So those 3 choices, what made it the most impressive?
I think really starting 40, going out in 40. I mean, are you kidding me? You went out in 40. Now, the course was winning, and a lot of guys weren't scoring well. But then to be able to rally from firing 40 going out, I think that was pretty remarkable. I mean, I turned that thing on about midway, and I think they had just finished 12 or 13. The leaders were there and stuff. And And the leaderboard was just an incredible hodgepodge, but a traffic jam. Like, there were 5 different guys leading the tournament and stuff. And they had all gotten there in different ways. They had come from different places on the leaderboard. And Spaun, of course, had been the 3rd round leader. But you know how that is, Eric. You go shoot at that level, you go shoot a 40 in a major going out. That can play with your brain a lot. Just getting back into a good place where you can figure out and go get your good swing again is a really hard thing to do. Now, I will say this. I would love people to go out from 62 feet with no pressure on them at all, on whatever green that you want, and see how often you can 2-putt from 62 feet. Okay?
Well, that wasn't even a straight line putt.
No, and it wasn't.
And then throw in the element of, for most of the week, it was dry as hell.
Right.
And those greens were like ice skating rinks. And now you got to go out there and completely adjust your speed of the ball in real time.
Yeah. Where would that ball have ended up if the hole hadn't gotten in the way?
I don't know.
4 feet, maybe 5, enough to be a knee knocker coming back the other way.
Where would that putt have landed if it was Thursday?
Yeah, well, that's a great call. That'd have been 25 feet past.
Right.
So good point.
With that, I will go with of those 3 choices. Waking up at 3 a.m.
Happy Father's Day.
Right. And you are absolutely dead tired and filled with adrenaline at the same time that are fighting each other.
Yeah.
Now, for as great as Father's Day was for J.J. Spaun, you can make the case it was better for former pitcher Bobby Witt. Did you see what happened with him?
No, I did not. You're gonna have to entertain me.
His son, Bobby Witt Jr., plays
One of my
for the Kansas City Royals.
Yep.
Bobby Witt Jr. hit a foul ball down the right field line to his dad.
That's fantastic. Man, of course it happens on Father's Day. That's fantastic.
Who had a better Father's Day? Dad catching the ball 1 in a million, or J.J. Spaun winning the U.S. Open? I understand he was playing really well through the opening 3 days. Or J.J. Spaun winning the U.S. Open after getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, helping his daughter, starting 5 of 6 bogeys, and then hitting a 64-foot putt. Who had a more memorable Father's Day? The obvious answer is J.J. Spaun. But honestly, both are pretty spectacular.
If I'm Bobby Witt, though, I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm a former big leaguer, and I'm in seats like this to catch a ball down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, can you get better seats? That was pretty cool. But J.J. Spaun will be introduced now as U.S. Open champion or former U.S. Open champion. 2025 U.S. Open champion is how he'll be introduced. And that will be his introduction and calling card for the rest of his life.
Think about this. Of all the great golfers in the history of the sport, how many have a signature moment like that? And I'm talking about guys who have won multiple majors. That's a great question. And that was my thinking last night. I was thinking, in terms of an indelible moment, Tiger had at the Masters the putt that hung on the lip. I mean, Tiger doesn't count. He's got so many of them, it's ridiculous. But J.J. Spaun will forever be remembered. And people will have to remember that it wasn't for the win. It was for a 2-stroke win. Right.
The 64, the only way it could have gotten better is if he needed that putt to win the tournament. But it was still pretty damned good. And 64 feet, you just never forget putts. You never forget those moments.
Let's say you're a professional golfer. Would you rather win 4 majors in unspectacular fashion or win 1 major where people walk up to you on the street in 10 years and say, I remember where I was?
That's a pretty good one. 4 majors is pretty hard to beat because that starts putting you in select company. I might go that direction, but I totally feel you on the other option. It would be a very enticing thing. When history remembers you,
Can I say something real quick?
yeah.
No one's going to remember 4 majors if they were unspectacular, because you're certainly not the greatest golfer of all time with 4 majors. You're a great golfer, maybe top 20, but you're not going to be top 5. You're not going to be Jack Nicklaus. You're not going to be Tiger Woods, Tom Watson, Lee Trevino. You're Ben Hogan. You're not going to be in that category.
Unless you win well, no, you won't be in that category. But winning like a career Grand Slam with your 4, that makes it even better than winning 4.
Or what you can do is you can be Rory McIlroy and win in unspectacular fashion.
Yeah.
But the way you reacted is what everybody will remember, like he did in the PGA.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's funny what we remember and what we don't. Rory McIlroy has won the career Grand Slam, but it's hard to have a memory of Rory McIlroy in one of those moments that you never lose. JJ Spaun has one of those moments, right? So,
well,
boom.
Think about this for a second. You're a Red Sox fan. When I say the name Carlton Fisk, what do you remember? Quickly, what do you remember?
76 inside the foul pole, waving it fair.
And that's my point.
And that's
all these years later, nearly 50 years later, Carlton Fisk was one of the greatest catchers of all time.
Yep.
But if you ever met Carlton Fisk, that's what you would ask him about.
Sure.
You meet JJ Spaun, that's what you're going to ask him about. So, Steve Kerr had that moment with the Bulls. John Paxton had that moment with the Bulls.
Yeah.
You covered a Final Four. You covered an NCAA final. Who beat Memphis?
Mario Chalmers.
Mario
Chalmers, yeah, absolutely. At the buzzer to send it to overtime. It was unbelievable.
So would you rather have a number of titles, or whenever somebody walks up to you, they say, oh my God, I was such a fan, or I know where I was, and you relive it over and over again for the rest of your life?
Yeah, it's a good question. And the great news is that you could go either way and probably be pretty happy with it.
Exactly. With that, want to tell you about the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. I just had a hankering for some Philly cheesesteak egg rolls yesterday. Mandy and I were at home, and I said, I'm going to come back with a surprise. So I drove to Sportsbook, got some Philly cheesesteak egg rolls, got some of the cheese curds with the marinara. It was fantastic. It's a great place to go to have lunch, to have dinner, but it's a great place to order out as well, especially when there's some things on the menu where you're like, boy, I got a taste for that. There are very few restaurants out there where you're like, ooh, I got to go drive there myself and pick it up. That's the way Sportsbook Bar and Grill is. By the way, if you're looking to watch big games, you could always watch it there. NBA Finals are tonight. I'm guessing the place is going to be packed. NHL Finals, place is going to be packed. If you love soccer, rugby, UFC, they have all that great stuff as well. Sportsbook Bar and Grill, you can find them in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and opening soon in Parker. Time now for The Lead.
The Lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
I read this last week. We didn't have time to get to it, but I want to bring it up today. If you are a Broncos fan, you are going to love what Gennaro Filice wrote from NFL.com about the Broncos. He ranked his top 10 offenses this season. And if Filice is right, there is no doubt in my mind the Broncos will be serious Super Bowl contenders. Top 10 offenses this season, he has the Broncos ranked number 6. Now, you might say that's nuts, and it might be nuts, but at the end of the day, he might be right as well. He has the Broncos ahead of the Chiefs and the Bengals, and right behind the Ravens and the Bills. This is what he wrote. And Bruce, please humor me and allow me to get through a little bit of the highlights of what he wrote and why he wrote what he wrote. He said, during that opening month of last season, Denver's offense averaged 14 and a half points a game, tied for 29th in the NFL. But after the calendar turned to October, the Broncos averaged over 25 points a game for the remainder of the regular season, ranking in the league one of the top in the league. Here's what Nix did in his final 13 games. Completed 68% of his passes, 240 passing yards a game. Yards per average, 7.3, which is pretty good. 28 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. His passer rating was 103. He said Denver was blown out in the playoffs in Buffalo, but Nix did not look out of place. You and I would both agree on that, Bruce. Mm-hmm. He said in the coming season, I expect him to pick up where he left off. The Broncos return all 5 starters from an offensive line that was elite last season. And Peyton made another early draft pick that had some folks calling it, and he put this in all caps, a reach. But don't count me among those questioning the second-round selection of R.J. Harvey. I'm a big fan of his compact, shifty back with supreme contact balance. With Denver signing J.K. Dobbins this week, or I should say last week, Peyton assembling the kind of multifaceted backfield is something that served him well in New Orleans. With that, this is the most bullish assessment I have read about the Broncos. Are you that bullish about the Broncos?
I think they have the potential to be very good. And if you can carry over what they did, and Sean Payton's the first one to tell you that you can't, he says, you know, you upset the apple cart and you start building it from scratch each and every year. So I will take him at his word. Having said that, this is a more mature offense. It is a better roster. There are better pieces in the offense. Bo Nix is in his second year of the offense. You and I have talked about the fact that he is playing now from rote. He knows everything about the offense and where people need to be, what he needs to start looking for defensively, and the ability that he can do that coming right out of the huddle instead of worrying about where guys are going around him on the particular play. So they are so far ahead of where they were this time last year, arguably even where they finished the season. Having said that, Evan Engram, how does he assimilate to this offense? What's the dynamic in the running back room with Dobbins and Harvey? My guess is it's going to be really strong, really good. Dobbins appears to be that kind of guy. He's not Joe Flacco. You know, Joe Flacco was not going to mentor Drew Lock. That wasn't going to happen. But one of the first things that J.K. Dobbins talked about was mentoring not only R.J. Harvey, but that young running back room and making them better. That to me shows a player that has supreme confidence in his own abilities to fit into the offense. He knows he's a 3-down back. He knows that this offense and this coach would love to have a 3-down back. He knows there's going to be heavy lifting for him in this offense. I think they have the chance. I am probably not quite that bullish, but I am very optimistic that this can be a 24 to 26.5 type of scoring offense, which would put them in very good positions to win games, especially with the defense they have.
I want to get back into what you mentioned about Joe Flacco, because when he said it here in Denver, referring to Drew Lock. Have we fully analyzed this in this way? Is that a really selfish football player in Joe Flacco? No. Or is it a guy who is clearly being real, is clearly being truthful? Is that being a good teammate thing, or is that being selfish?
To me, it would be, I would have been careful of the verbiage that I used because it can be construed just by the nature of your question as a selfish remark. I mean, we were there when he said it. I didn't feel like it was made by a selfish player, but
I do.
And I understand.
I do.
Fair enough.
Not? He's not willing to help someone. That's what he said.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to help someone.
Well, what he said was his job was to be the starting quarterback, to win games, all of that stuff. And yes, he did stiff arm the whole possibility of being that kind of mentor or that kind of example. So,
Well, let me tell you how I heard it, and maybe
sure.
we heard it differently. I'm not here to mentor. I wasn't brought here to mentor Drew Lock.
Right.
But he also didn't say, whatever he needs, I'm willing to help him get better.
He could have done that. He could have done that.
Do you believe he'd be willing to do that? Because I don't. I don't think Joe Flacco. Here, I'll ask you. Maybe you're wired differently than he is. Maybe I am. I believe in life. All of us have a certain level of talent. What you can control is how hard you work. Listen, I have auctioneers on my fundraising team. I mentor them. I try and help them to be the best that I can. Now, you can make the case selfishly. I do it because I own the company. But I have also mentored other auctioneers who don't work for me. If you're better than me, I am totally cool with that. I just know you won't outwork me, but I will take it to another level. Just because I mentor you, just because I tell you what I do to help me reach my potential every day, just because I open my playbook to you and show you what I do, doesn't mean you can execute it.
Right.
That is my internal confidence. I can show you everything that I do, like maybe in sales. I can show you how I sell, but it doesn't mean you can do it. But I want to do the right thing. So if somebody's actually on my team, not a team that I own, like my fundraising business, but on a football team, I will do everything that I can to help you out. As a matter of fact, you might be better than me, and that's okay. But there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. And you've heard me say the difference between the two. Do you know the difference between knowledge and wisdom? Have I ever told you this? It's a great line. Not a line that I've ever come up with myself. I'm not that clever. The difference between knowledge and wisdom is knowledge is knowing that a tomato does not belong. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that a tomato does not belong in a fruit salad. So I can show you footwork, arm angles, how to read defenses, but it doesn't mean reading defenses are going to click with you.
No.
I have the wisdom of being able to read defenses.
Quarterback is a tough call for mentorship because of the very certain particular skill sets that each player bring. The fact of the matter is, even in Drew Lock and Joe Rocco's situation,
Flacco, yep.
Or Joe Flacco. Yeah, Joe Rocco.
Joe Rockhead.
Joe Rocco.
Rockhead.
No. Joe Flacco, they're totally different types. I mean, you just have different skill sets. Yep. And not one player's experience doesn't necessarily apply or relate to another's when it comes to quarterback, simply because some quarterbacks have really good feet. Some quarterbacks are really calm in the pocket. Some quarterbacks don't frazzle as much as others. There's all these different factors. Some quarterbacks have great vision and can see over the line of scrimmage. You can throw the deep ball. Some throw the out patterns better. There's just different things that you do. For a running back, it's about the one thing that really separates. There's few things that separate running backs. Vision.
Yes.
Speed, obviously. I mean, that can always separate too. But the experience of what a running back, particularly a J.K. Dobbins, can bring for an R.J. Harvey is applicable. It's like, okay, let's get together on this. And some of the things that I've learned, I think can help you immediately. And in a running back room, I think it's pretty valuable.
We got to hit a break.
Yeah.
Do you think you can coach vision?
No, I think vision is one of those things that you either see it or you don't. And I mean that literally.
Can you coach speed?
No.
Right.
No.
So those are two big things that running backs need. Javonte Williams did not, his vision, honestly, not a knock on him. His vision was not very good. He could not see the crease. He could not see the hole. So no matter who is mentoring him,
Right.
no matter who is mentoring him, it's not really going to help that much. So Joe Flacco might be great at reading defenses. He can sit down with Drew Lock and talk to him about reading defenses.
Yeah.
Drew Lock was terrible at it.
Yeah.
You could get the greatest, quarterback on the planet ever to play. You could bring in Peyton Manning. I don't know if Peyton Manning could help Drew Lock really read a defense
Right.
on the field in real time. Yeah, Tim Tebow was good enough studying and working on his footwork in practice, but once the game started, he went back to the same old Tim Tebow because it was in real time. Yeah. Coming up after the break, you heard what this NFL.com writer had to say. He thinks the Broncos will have a top 6 offense this year. So if the Broncos have a top 6 offense, and they also have, say, I don't know, a top 3 defense, are we talking about a team that should be a favorite to win the Super Bowl? That's next.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a pair of Spider Cruisers or over $15,000 in cash the weekend of July 18th, just in time for the Sturgis Bike Rally in South Dakota. That's right, your choice, cruisers or $15,000 in cash. Get finalist entries every 45 minutes from 10 a.m. to midnight during their daily cash drawing with a locked-up jackpot of $100 or more. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Welcome back. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. I want to get back to this article that was written on NFL.com where one writer believes the Broncos will have the 6th best scoring offense in the league this year. That would be very optimistic, but if Bo Nix has truly improved, has taken a major step from year 1 to year 2, and I think that we have seen a pretty significant step, right?
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
You have Sutton, Vele, Franklin, Mims all coming back. Okay. Offensive line has been untouched. Huge upgrade at tight end and potentially a huge upgrade at running back. The 6th highest scoring offense in the league last year was Cincinnati at 28 points a game. If the if the Broncos can build on what they did over their final 13 games and go from 25 points a game to 28 points a game. Now, granted, when you're looking at points per game for an offense, it's a little deceiving.
It is.
In the sense that maybe a defense scored the touchdown. That is included on the offensive ledger. Also, maybe the defense forced a turnover inside an opponent's own 10-yard line. You only have 10 yards to work with. Chances are you're going to put up points. So I need to put that, out there as well. But let's say the Broncos average 27 points a game. Are they not only a team that will make the playoffs when you combine it with this defense, but would you call them a serious Super Bowl contender when the season ends 27 points a game, 27.5 points a game, and a top 2, top 3 defense is likely going to give up maybe 15 to 16 points a game? Are we saying they are a serious Super Bowl contender?
Well, the author of this article is, without saying it.
Well, no,
yeah.
He didn't talk about the defense at all.
Well,
he only talked about the offense.
Okay. The answer is yes. If this is an offense that averages 27 points a game, let's throw a number out there. This is an average that if this is a team that averages 27 points a game with a defense that I think most of us feel legitimately, without a lot of question, should be a top 5, 6, 7 defense in the NFL. That's a team that should be somewhere in the 12-5 range. That's a team that should be winning the division or contending for winning the division. And Eric, if they are contending for winning the division or they do win the division, all of a sudden that changes everything for their postseason in terms of where games are being played. Now you have home field advantage. For some people, that is real. Other people, maybe not as much. But you know what? I think you'd rather play games at home than on the road. So yeah, that changes everything. I think if you're giving me those metrics, I'm showing you a team that goes no worse than 12-5.
Okay.
Which I'm not ready to go there, by the way.
Okay. Do you look at the Broncos as a team ready to make a run, or, as you say about a lot of teams, they're a year away from being there?
Did they finish ahead of schedule last year?
With a rookie quarterback, the answer is yes.
Yes, and I agree with you right
quarterback,
there.
Yes.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that they were ahead of schedule next year. So now it becomes a question of, can you stay ahead of schedule? I would listen to someone saying, hey, they're a year away. In terms of maturation, that's probably true. But it's how you go out and perform together.
Right.
I mean, if Bo Nix is more veteran-like this year than the stops and starts, especially early in the season. Remember, he didn't throw a touchdown pass in the first month of the season.
Right.
I mean, the amount of stuff that he did later in the season was unreal. It was fantastic.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
And he also had 3 chipped, broken bones in his back while doing it.
Tough kid, right? So there you go. You've got a lot of reasons, and they return 80. And I keep going back to this because I think it's important. They return 84% of a playoff roster. We can argue what kind of playoff team that they were, but they were a playoff team. They won 10 games. They return 84% of a roster that has had that demonstrated ability, as Sean Payton likes to say. They have that experience. Does it mean that they're going to start off at 10-7 this year or be 11-6 or 12? No, it doesn't mean that, but it means that they've done what was necessary and the knowledge of how to do it to get to 10-7. I don't think that even just with what we've seen through 9 practices in shorts and T-shirts, that anyone that has spent any time out there doesn't think that the Broncos aren't at least have a chance to be a better team than they were a year ago. Even now, you can see it. They just don't have a lot of weaknesses right now. With the one position that we can talk about of uncertainty is inside linebacker. Dre Greenlaw is there. He looks like he's going to be ready to go for the beginning of training camp. Alex Singleton will be ready to go by the beginning of training camp. He was running full sprints and looking good doing it. That's not playing football. I get it. But I think that that's not going to be an issue as well. It all comes down to whether or not they can stay healthy. But other than that, I think that they've got they've got a tough schedule. But, who doesn't have a tough schedule to one degree or the other in the National Football League? So, yeah, I think that they're going to be better. Now, how that manifests itself in terms of a win-loss record, I don't know.
Let me throw something else at you. They brought back 84% of their roster that won 10 games last year. Now, let's be fair about something, because if this storm hits, don't be surprised. And what do I mean by that? The last 2 years, they have been blessed with keeping guys on the field. They have not had to deal with the adversity of losing a couple of offensive linemen for X number of games, losing a cornerback or two, specifically Pat Surtain. They have brought in guys who have a history of injury, at least last year.
Yeah.
So if for some reason the Broncos falter, I don't believe it's because of the roster they currently have on paper. It's because of injuries. They won 10 games last year, and who missed significant time? That was a major contributor.
Right.
Maybe even the year before. There was so when you look at 84% of their roster coming back, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at this draft class. And whether outside people or not like the draft class, they have not been there for OTAs and for minicamp. They have 3 guys already who are expected to make instant, immediate impacts, and not like just being a starter. I mean an impact. 3 guys, Barron, Harvey, and Crawshaw.
Right.
All 3 of those guys are expected to have very good years, and they're rookies. And we have not even delved into what we have seen with Pat Bryant and Savion Jones and Q Robinson and all of those guys, using one of our favorite media words, they have flashed already.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And that's what is, to me, that part of the equation makes it the most exciting. You knew they were going to add pieces, and they did. Now, we'll see how those pieces play out. They got to perform.
Mm-hmm.
But the draft class is always a little bit of a question, but I feel fairly comfortable in what you just said. 3 guys will make immediate impacts early in the season on this football team, and if they stay healthy, probably throughout the entire season. We haven't even put Pat Bryant in that roll call.
I want to ask you something.
Yeah, go ahead.
When the Broncos drafted Javonte Williams in the 2nd round, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you look at him in his rookie season and say, yeah, we know at North Carolina he broke a lot of tackles. He was great after contact. Did you have the same type of confidence in him as you do in Harvey?
It's a fair question. He was pretty good as a rookie.
No, but did you expect, sitting here in June, dating back all those years, Javonte Williams to have an immediate impact like we are with Harvey? Did you expect Pat Surtain to have an immediate impact in his rookie year like we are with Barron?
I definitely saw it in Pat Surtain without question. Now, to the point whether 3 years later he'd be, AFC Defensive Player of the Year, I can't say that. But, you and I were around him. I mean, his attention to detail, the way that he worked, I mean, his drive to improve, not to mention his skill set at a very accelerated rate coming in. So
he was also a top 12 pick.
Yeah,
let's go apples to apples with the 2 running backs, both drafted in the 2nd round.
The difference is that R.J. Harvey now has J.K. Dobbins. That's the difference.
So you're putting that type. Well, wait a minute.
Because I think your scenario is very similar. It's a very good apples to apples.
Yeah, but
second round guys.
Hold on.
Right?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hit the brakes. And this is why you need to hit the brakes. Who would you rather have? J.K. Dobbins in the room, or would you rather have Melvin Gordon in the room? Melvin Gordon's is a better football player than J.K. Dobbins.
Except he fumbles.
For nothing else, ability to play.
Well, availability means something. The only problem that I had with Melvin was fumbling.
Right.
I mean, that was my only deal with him.
But the point is, you put Melvin in the same room with a rookie. And now you're putting Dobbins in the same room with a rookie. And Melvin Gordon far more accomplished than J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, and maybe that was part of the problem. That he was, I think that he probably had a different view of who he was relative to the rest of the running back room. And I'm not saying he wasn't a good teammate. My experience with Melvin Gordon was nothing but good. Nothing but good. He was always gracious with his time. He had time for us and answered questions and appeared to be, to me, a very good teammate. My problem with him was that he turned the ball over at incredibly awkward times in football games. It will be interesting to see how the relationship with Dobbins and Harvey evolves. My sense is that it will be a really good working relationship, because I think that, and another difference is, it wasn't Sean Payton who brought those two guys together. It was it Hackett or was it Fangio that brought in? It was Fangio that brought in Melvin Gordon, right?
Yep.
So now you have Sean Payton having made that decision. My guess is the due diligence on the type of character that he was getting probably fits the path and the need for what they want in that running back room.
That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Make it the best possible day you can.